A manager was stealing donations, but when the CEO found out why, he couldn't fire him. Alex Whitman stepped through the glass doors just before noon, donning a casual polo and baseball cap to blend in. He carried a clipboard and pen, tools of the trade for his undercover persona, a mystery shopper here to evaluate service. The midday crowd surged around him, suits on lunch breaks, families grabbing quick meals, delivery drivers hustling past. He paused at the hostess stand, offering a polite smile before asking for a table near the front. Take a second to subscribe. It really helps. Thanks. Now back to the story. Seated, he studied the dining room through the reflection in his dark sunglasses. The place hummed with energy, orders called out from the kitchen, servers weaving between tables, and the steady chime of the register at the counter. Occasionally, employees dropped coins into the charity jar by the cash drawer, a clear plastic container inviting small donations for local youth programs. Once his water arrived, Alex tucked the clipboard under the table and settled into observer mode. He ordered a signature burger and fries, all while watching manager Ryan Nelson, tall, efficient, with an easy authority, move behind the counter. Ryan's brow furrowed as he directed staff, then slipped behind the register during a lull. Most employees rotated through the register to total orders, but Ryan lingered. Alex watched as Ryan's hand rose, lifting the lid of the charity jar. He paused, casting a glance toward the dining room, then fished out a handful of coins. With practiced ease, Ryan tucked them into his back pocket before returning to the registers. Alex tapped a note onto his clipboard. Manager handling charity donations? His burger arrived, steam rising off the patty. Alex thanked the server and took a deliberate bite, savoring the flavor as he reviewed the store's cleanliness, the team's friendliness, and the speed of service. Ryan reappeared at the end of the counter, wiping his hands on a towel, then directed a server to restock napkins. A customer approached with a donation for the jar. Ryan accepted it without comment, then moved toward the office door. Alex watched him disappear down the hallway, puzzling over the earlier moment. Charity jars should be counted transparently by shift supervisors, not pocketed by a manager. He made another note. Observe further. Clarify policy on cash handling. He spent the rest of his meal scanning interactions, determined to uncover whether this was a one-off mistake or the first note in a larger pattern. As he slipped the last fry into his mouth, Alex knew his routine visit was already uncovering surprises. Alex lingered at the counter the following afternoon, nursing a lemonade and watching the staff prepare for the dinner rush. He'd seen the pattern twice now, Ryan's subtle reach into the charity jar. As the clock edged toward 5, the mood shifted. Servers hurried to set tables, the kitchen doors swung open, and Ryan stood at the end of the counter, straightening order tickets. A regular customer approached with 2 quarters clinking in hand. She dropped them into the jar and murmured thanks for the great service. Ryan glanced over her shoulder, eyes flicking briefly to the jar as the coins settled at the bottom. Alex held his breath. Ryan's hand moved, thumb lifting the jar's lid almost imperceptibly. Then, in one smooth motion, he scooped out exactly 2 quarters, sliding them into his pocket before resealing the lid. Alex froze, lemonade halfway to his lips. The motion had been too deft to be accidental. Managerial oversight. Yes, but this was deliberate. He scribbled in his notebook. 3rd instance today, quarter for quarter pocketing. He studied Ryan now, noting the way he forced a polite smile at a passing server, as if to erase any suspicion. Moments later, Ryan bustled toward the office door, clipboard in hand, leaving the charity jar alone at the register. Alex seized his chance. He slipped from the counter and moved closer, pretending to examine a promotional flyer taped to the side of the bar. From this angle, he watched Ryan's retreating back disappear through the office door. Alex's heart pounded. He'd need hard evidence to confront this head-on. A young server, Lily, approached the register to restock napkins. She eyed the jar, then caught Alex's gaze. He nodded toward the counter. Her eyes widened in understanding before she bent to refill her apron pockets. Alex caught the flicker of her face, concern edged with fear. He replaced the lid of his notebook and slid back onto his stool, folding his arms. Across the room, Ryan reemerged from the office, clipboard full of notes, ready to claim authority over the evening's rush. Alex sipped the last of his lemonade, mind racing. Ryan's polished exterior hid something darker, and Alex knew the upcoming days would be critical to uncover the extent of the manager's betrayal. Alex returned the next morning before opening, slipping through the staff entrance with a clipboard and a determined expression. He had scheduled a health inspection under his alias, giving him free rein to observe back-of-house procedures. The kitchen bustled with pots clanging and ovens humming as Alex trailed behind a nervous cook showing him compliance certificates. Every so often, Alex's eyes darted to the hallway leading to the manager's office and the register area. Once the cook joined another task, Alex paused at the supply shelf and pretended to inventory boxes of gloves. From this vantage, he watched Ryan stride out of the office, phone pressed to his ear. Ryan paused at the register, reached for the charity jar, and, a flick of the wrist, slid a handful of coins into his pocket. Alex noted the exact timestamp on his inspection form, 9:47 a.m. He tugged at his collar and stepped into the register zone, clipboard in hand. "Just checking procedures," he announced. A cashier nodded, eyes flicking toward Ryan, who slipped back into the office without a glance. Alex studied the jar's contents, then looked at the floor behind the counter. He found 3 coins, a dime, a quarter, and a nickel scattered beneath the edge of the counter. He pocketed them discreetly, placing them in the stash in his jacket. Back in the kitchen, Alex engaged the sous chef in a conversation about sanitation stations. While discussing hand-washing logs, he opened his clipboard to note the time and ricocheted his gaze toward the main counter. There, he glimpsed Ryan reviewing daily sales on a tablet. After a few moments, Ryan leaned over, lifted the jar lid, and removed several coins and even a few low-denomination bills. Alex's breath caught. He jotted, "Manager systematically removing donations, multiple coins and bills." Now armed with physical evidence, Alex felt a surge of both validation and unease. He'd witnessed compassion from employees like Lily and heard whispers from staff about Ryan's financial strain. Confronting a thief was one thing. Confronting a desperate man was another. He had enough to escalate, but part of him hesitated, wrestling with empathy for Ryan's hidden struggles. As he left the restaurant, clipboard in hand and pockets slightly heavier, Alex knew the next step would demand both prudence and courage. Alex spent the next week rotating visits between lunch, dinner, and late afternoon shifts, tracking Ryan's behavior like a forensic investigator. He maintained a spreadsheet in his head. 9:47 a.m. yesterday, 5:12 p.m. the day before, 8:03 p.m. 2 nights ago, times when Ryan slipped coins or folded bills in his pocket. He compared those timestamps against reported charity jar tallies and noted a consistent shortfall, $20 to $40 missing each day. During his covert observations, Alex also cataloged Ryan's attempts at concealment. He'd noticed Ryan checking reflections in display screens, sweeping stray bills beneath a stack of to-go menus, or feigning a call to hide the clink of metal. The more Alex watched, the clearer the pattern. This wasn't a one-off indiscretion, but a calculated routine. Alex cross-referenced shift schedules with his notes. Only Ryan and 2 senior cashiers, Lily and Jamal, ever handled the jar outside of end-of-shift counts, and neither Lily nor Jamal showed any suspicious behavior. In fact, Lily had confided that Ryan personally told her to leave the jar undisturbed, directing her to focus on customer orders. That pointed fingers squarely at Ryan. Between shifts, Alex reviewed company policy on charity funds. All donated money was to be logged, counted, and deposited weekly under dual oversight. No manager was permitted to handle the jar alone. His covert visits revealed no deposit bags, no counting rituals, and certainly no oversight. Every day brought another discrepancy, another data point in a growing portrait of betrayal. Yet amid the evidence, a subtler pattern emerged. Alex noticed Ryan's raptor-like efficiency. After pocketing funds, he discreetly handed off extra work to servers, a way to deflect scrutiny. And when a server fell behind, Ryan took over, cleaning tables or bussing dishes with a surprising gentleness, as though atoning for his thefts. These contradictions gnawed at Alex. On one hand, he had irrefutable proof of misappropriated donations. On the other, he saw flashes of compassion and leadership under pressure. The duality left him unsettled, forcing him to question not just Ryan's motives, but his own responsibility as CEO to balance accountability with understanding. By Friday afternoon, Alex had compiled a dossier, timestamps, eyewitness accounts, physical coins, and prepared to confront the pattern head-on. As he pocketed his pen, he realized that exposing Ryan would ripple through the entire store. The next move had to be precise, measured, and, perhaps, compassionate in equal measure. Alex took a late shift one Wednesday, slipping into the role of a weary traveler ordering a simple coffee and pie. The dining room was nearly empty, save for a lone busboy stacking clean dishes near the back door. Alex recognized him from earlier visits. Jamal, quiet and watchful, always keeping his distance from the charity jar. As Ryan stepped out of the office to refill napkins, Jamal approached him with a sheet of paper. The busboy's hand trembled slightly as he slid the page across the counter. Ryan glanced at it. An excerpt from security logs showing timestamps when the jar was accessed, but he folded it swiftly and tucked it into his shirt pocket without word or acknowledgement. Alex stood and approached the register, feigning curiosity. "Busy night," he commented over his shoulder. Ryan offered a curt nod as he rang up Alex's coffee. His fingers brushed the jar lid, but instead of pocketing coins, he paused and closed his hands into fists. Alex watched for a sign of relief or regret, but saw only tension in Ryan's shoulders. After paying, Alex lingered near Jamal, who hovered by the dish window. "You okay?" he asked in a low voice. The busboy nodded, eyes darting toward Ryan. You saw it," Jamal whispered, voice hushed as if afraid of being overheard. "Yeah," Alex replied. "I've been watching. You have proof." Jamal offered a USB drive, concealing it in his apron. "Cameras go directly to the office computer. I downloaded what I could." Alex took the drive, glancing toward Ryan as the manager barked an order to a server. Ryan's gaze swept the room, but he didn't approach. Alex realized that Jamal's courage in delivering evidence had put him at personal risk. He placed a reassuring hand on the busboy's shoulder. As Ryan passed behind the counter, Alex met his eye briefly, an unspoken challenge. Ryan's quick glance flashed surprise, then hardened into practiced neutrality. A charged silence passed between them, the busboy's quiet defiance and the manager's trembling awareness, each vying for control. Alex sipped his coffee, mind racing. Now armed with Jamal's footage and his own observations, he sensed the story shifting. Confrontation loomed closer, but so did the realization that this crossroads would define more than Ryan's fate. It would test Alex's own leadership and the values he claimed to uphold. Alex tucked Jamal's USB drive into his pocket and returned the next morning wearing a crisp dress shirt, his CEO badge tucked safely beneath its collar. He had arranged a meeting with Human Resources. An anonymous report of irregularities had prompted the session, giving him cover to observe Ryan's reaction. As staff filed past the HR office door, Ryan emerged, clipboard in hand, pausing when he spotted Alex's badge clipped to the receptionist's wall from a past orientation. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second before Ryan forced a polite nod and continued down the hallway. Alex let him go, turning back to collect HR files that conveniently fell from a top shelf, an excuse to study records of employee support requests and counseling sessions. He noted that Ryan had submitted one request 6 weeks ago, financial hardship assistance following his daughter's costly medical treatments. The file indicated partial approval, but little follow-up. Later, Alex joined the lunch rush under his mystery shopper guise. Ryan moved through the dining area, offering a supportive word to servers juggling plates. When a distraught waitress confessed she'd undercharged a customer, Ryan offered to cover the difference, slipping bills in her tip jar before guiding her back to the service line. The kindness was genuine, his tone gentle. "You're good at this job. Mistakes happen." Alex's mind churned. Beneath the surface of theft lay a man shouldering a family crisis. The stolen charity funds had likely been diverted to the same cause, his daughter's treatments. He observed Ryan at the register, watching him wrestle with the jar again. But this time, Ryan paused, slid the lid closed, and backed away without taking a cent. On his way out, Alex stopped by the office door and slipped a copy of company hardship relief policies into Ryan's clipboard as if dropped by mistake. He caught Ryan picking it up later, scanning the pages with a look of desperate hope. Alex realized that uncovering motive didn't excuse theft, but it reframed the narrative, a man trying to protect his daughter. As Alex walked to his car, he recognized the delicate balance ahead. He would need to address the crime and weigh the human cost. Under the surface of wrongdoing lay a father's fierce love, one that no company policy could ignore. Alex parked in a quiet alley behind the restaurant, gazing at the glow of its windows as evening service began. His mind churned with conflicting impulses. On one hand, Ryan Nelson had violated trust and betrayed the community by stealing charity donations. Corporate policy demanded swift action, termination, perhaps legal charges. On the other hand, Alex had glimpsed Ryan's desperation, a father scrambling to pay for a daughter's life-saving treatment, a man beaten down by circumstances beyond his control. He replayed the morning's kindnesses in his mind, Ryan slipping bills to a flustered waitress, offering support during the lunch rush, then hesitating at the charity jar as if battling shame. The disparity between those acts of compassion and the theft created a moral knot Alex couldn't untie with a simple HR form. Justice required accountability. Mercy demanded understanding. Alex thumbed the USB drive in his pocket. The footage of Ryan's thefts, Jamal's brave testimony, and the time-stamped evidence he himself had collected. It was damning, irrefutable. Yet he also carried the HR notes on Ryan's hardship request, the logged entries showing he'd applied for help and received only partial relief. His heart sank at the realization that the company's support system had failed its own manager. Another wave of conflict washed over him. As CEO, his responsibility was to protect the brand, uphold integrity, and send a clear message that theft would not be tolerated. But as a human being, he felt the tug of compassion for a parent driven to desperate measures. He thought of his own daughter, safe at home, and the lengths any parent would go to save child. Alex exhaled, weighing options. He could confront Ryan in private, offer a path to restitution, and perhaps preserve a valuable leader. Or he could follow corporate protocol, remove Ryan, and demonstrate zero tolerance. Either choice carried consequences, loyalty tested, morale shaken, community trust at stake. He glanced through the window as Ryan emerged to greet a regular, offering a genuine smile that lit the dining room. In that moment, Alex understood the true test of leadership: to balance justice with mercy, to enforce standards while acknowledging human frailty. The next steps would define not only Ryan's fate, but the soul of the company Alex had built. With resolve hardened by empathy, he reached into his pocket and tapped the drive, preparing for the conversation that would chart their shared future. Alex returned late that night, slipping through the back entrance and making his way to the small security room tucked behind the office. He found Jamal hunched over the monitors, eyes red from hours of reviewing footage. The busboy looked up, surprise giving way to relief when he saw Alex step inside, carrying 2 coffees. "Can't sleep," Alex said, setting a cup beside Jamal. "I needed to see this myself." Jamal nodded, pushing a USB drive across the desk. "Here," he whispered. "I pulled clips from cameras aimed at the register area. You'll see the times, the hands, everything." Alex plugged the drive into the terminal. The screens blinked to life, revealing dozens of short video clips and still images. As the first played, he watched Ryan's hand hover over the charity jar, then slip coins into his pocket with the same practiced stealth Alex had observed. Timestamps flashed in the corner. 9:47 a.m., 3:15 p.m., 7:02 p.m. Over and over, the pattern repeated. He paused at one clip showing Ryan extracting a crumpled $5 bill, an unmistakable note tucked beneath the lid of the jar. Alex felt his jaw tighten. This wasn't occasional lapses, it was systematic theft. Yet between clips, Jamal pointed out instances where Ryan's face reflected remorse. A quick glance at the dining room, a hesitant shake of the head, a moment of hesitation before closing the jar. Jamal pressed play on another video. The moment a customer dropped coins into the jar, followed seconds later by Ryan removing the exact change. The timing was precise, coldly calculated. Alex leaned back, absorbing the weight of the evidence. Jamal's courage in gathering this footage, risking his job, struck him deeply. "You didn't have to do this," Alex said softly. "You could have stayed out of it." Jamal shook his head. "Someone had to. If not me, who?" Alex closed his eyes, letting the moral conflict settle. He now had absolute proof. The theft, the motive hidden beneath kindness, the human cost. As he rose to leave, he placed a hand on Jamal's shoulder. "Thank you," he said. "You've been my secret witness when no one else would step forward." In the dim glow of the security room, Alex understood the path ahead would demand both justice for the crime and compassion for the culprit. And with Jamal's testimony secured, he was ready to confront the truth. Alex sat alone in his hotel room that evening, the glow of the city skyline filtering through the curtains. He replayed the day's discoveries, feeling the weight of every coin shown on the security footage and every act of kindness he'd witnessed from Ryan. The dossier lay open on the desk beside him. Photos of Ryan slipping change into his pocket, timestamps neatly cataloged, HR notes on financial aid requests, and the USB drive Jamal had provided. He traced the outline of Ryan's face in each image, recalling how the manager had greeted staff with warmth and stepped in to cover mistakes. Ryan's daughter's medical bills loomed in the HR file, a desperate shadow behind every stolen dime. Alex sipped the lukewarm coffee he'd brought up from the lobby, trying to steady his thoughts. He had built the company on integrity. A leader caught stealing charity donations was a breach of trust that couldn't be ignored. But this wasn't ordinary theft. It was a father's struggle, a testament to love's power and pain's desperation. He stood and paced the room, phone in hand. He could call HR now, demand Ryan's immediate dismissal. He could alert legal counsel and protect the brand's reputation. Or he could reach out to Ryan personally, hear his story, offer a path to restitution, and perhaps find a solution that didn't end in ruin. Each option carried stakes: company morale, community perception, but most of all, the life of a manager and father. Alex's finger hovered over the call button. He thought of Jamal's bravery and Lily's whispered concerns, of the server Ryan had helped with undercharging customers. His chest tightened. Could he enforce policy without compassion? Would mercy undermine accountability? Or could a path exist that upheld both justice and humanity? He exhaled, placing the phone back on the nightstand. The decision wouldn't be easy, but it had to honor the company's values and acknowledge the human cost. He powered on his laptop, drafting an outline for a confidential meeting with Ryan, one that would lay out the evidence, allow for explanation, and offer support alongside consequences. As the city's lights flickered below, Alex felt clarity emerge from the turmoil. He would confront the dishonesty, but not without hearing the heart behind it. Justice and compassion, he resolved, would guide the next steps, even if it meant redefining what leadership truly meant. Alex settled into a private corner booth, phone pressed discreetly to his ear. He had rehearsed his words carefully, balancing corporate protocol with personal resolve. "This is Alexander Whitman," he began, voice calm. "I need to initiate a confidential audit at our downtown location. There have been irregularities with our charity fund that require immediate investigation." On the other end, a voice confirmed. "Understood, sir. We'll assemble an audit team and coordinate with HR. Do you have authorization?" Alex inhaled. "You have my full authorization. Keep this discreet. I'll handle internal communications." He ended the call and pocketed his phone, then flagged down a server for a fresh coffee. His mind replayed every moment leading up to this. The hidden footage, the spreadsheet of missing funds, and the human stories tangled beneath. He knew the auditors would comb through registers, review video logs, and interview staff. Ryan Nelson would soon find himself under bright scrutiny. Alex tapped a note into his phone. Audit begins 3 p.m. Confidential. He then penned a brief anonymous note for HR. Please treat as a high-priority incident. Notify only essential personnel. He folded it and slipped it under the HR manager's office door on his way out. No one would know it was his doing. He watched from a distance as the cafe clock ticked toward mid-afternoon. Servers moved in practice choreography, unaware that their routine would soon be halted. Jessica, the shift supervisor, passed by, offering a friendly wave. Alex gave a tight smile. He felt a pang of guilt. These were good people, many of whom had no idea of the storm about to break. By 2:45 p.m., two auditors in neat suits arrived with clipboards and laptops. They conferred briefly with the acting HR rep, then set to work by the registers. Alex observed their methodical approach, counting loose change, verifying digital logs, and comparing daily reports against the charity jar tallies. From his booth, Alex pressed his hand to his badge under his shirt. The moment was charged with consequence. He had set the wheels in motion. Now, he would watch the evidence unfold and prepare for the conversation that would decide Ryan's future and test the company's true commitment to justice and compassion. The auditors worked with quiet efficiency, measuring coins and counting bills against printed reports. One placed jars on digital scales, logging weights. Another downloaded transaction histories from the point-of-sale system. Servers gathered at a respectful distance, exchanging nervous glances as auditors methodically removed the charity jar from behind the counter for closer examination. Alex watched from his booth, eyes steady, as the lead auditor compared the day's register totals with the donation records. A clipboard flicked pages. Yesterday's lunch shift, the dinner rush, even late-night cleanups. Each tally revealed a gap. A few dollars here, a handful there. When the auditor clicked through the timestamps, Alex noted the coincidence of missing funds aligning with Ryan Nelson's shift manager logins. Nearby, the junior auditor approached a frazzled server. Quietly, she interviewed them about protocol. When do you normally count donations? The server replied, at the end of each week. But Mr. Nelson sometimes asks me to leave it until Monday. A raised eyebrow from the auditor, a quick note. As the afternoon wore on, the auditors moved through the back office, reviewing footage from security cameras. They replayed the clips extracted by Jamal, the unmistakable moments when Ryan's hand dipped into the jar. Alex leaned forward, resisting the urge to interject. He watched Ryan on the screen, precise, deliberate, conflicted. A soft chime signaled the second auditor's laptop completing a data sync. She tapped her pen and glanced at Alex's direction, meeting his gaze across the room. He nodded slightly. No words were needed. The numbers were damning. Once the audits and interviews concluded, the lead auditor assembled his team near the register. He addressed the HR representative. We recommend immediate review of Manager Nelson's conduct based on discrepancies and evidence. HR's face paled, but remained professional. Alex rose, stepping forward. Thank you, everyone, he said. I'll take it from here. Servers exhaled collectively, and the atmosphere shifted from tension to anticipation. As the auditors packed their gear, Alex felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. What happened next would define not just Ryan's fate, but the company's integrity. The lead auditor cleared his throat and addressed the small gathering near the register. We've identified consistent shortfalls in the charity fund, totaling nearly $200 this week. The surveillance footage confirms a single individual accessing the jar outside of end-of-week procedures. His gaze locked on Ryan, who stood rigid beside the counter, clipboard in hand, but color draining from his face. Ryan's lips trembled. He managed a choked, "I can explain," but no one stepped aside. Even the servers, usually absorbed in clearing tables or taking orders, paused to watch. Alex moved forward, placing a hand lightly on Ryan's shoulder. "Ryan," he said quietly yet firmly, "we have incontrovertible evidence. You need to come with me to the office." At that moment, a trembling voice broke from the crowd. Jamal, who had slipped back from the security room, stepped into the open. "I saw it," he said, holding out the USB drive. "I gave the footage to Mr. Whitman." His confession rippled through the room. Eyes widened. Whispers rose like stirred water. Ryan's shoulders sagged, and he turned away, head bowed. The HR manager cleared her throat. Per policy, we must suspend you pending a full internal review. Ryan nodded numbly, as though in a dream. Alex guided him toward the office, his hand firm at the small of Ryan's back. Across the dining room, customers watched in silence, some with surprise, others with quiet relief that justice was being served. Inside the office, Alex closed the door and gestured for Ryan to sit. Papers lay ready on the desk. Audit reports, video stills, statements. Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry," he began, tears shining on his cheeks. His confession halted at a sob. Alex took a deep breath. "We'll discuss everything, but right now, the restaurant needs to know we act on wrongdoing." He opened the file and began to review the timestamps. Each page turned marked the tipping point, the moment that blurred charity into crime, leadership into betrayal. Outside, the echoes of footsteps and murmured conversations signaled that nothing would ever be the same here again. Alex's phone buzzed with a message from the lead auditor. Evidence clear. Recommence suspension. He looked up to see Ryan standing at the edge of the dining room, eyes hollow. The moment of reckoning had come. Servers paused in their work, forks midair, as they sensed something shifting. Alex moved through the tables with measured steps and met Ryan at the counter. "We need to talk," he said quietly. Ryan nodded, clutching his clipboard like a lifeline. They slipped into the office where Alex closed the door behind them. On the desk lay the audit report, rows of figures, each red line a breach of trust. Security footage stills lay beside it, for separate timestamps showing Ryan's hand in the charity jar. Ryan's face went pale as Alex pointed to each evidence point. "This adds up to nearly $200 this week alone," Alex said. Ryan's voice trembled. "I never meant to." Alex held up a hand. "I know about your daughter's treatments. I found your HR request." He paused, watching Ryan's shoulders tighten. "But that doesn't excuse taking money meant for children's programs." Ryan bowed his head, tears pooling in his eyes. "I was desperate," he whispered. "I tried to pay it back, but—" His voice broke. Outside the office, Jamal appeared in the doorway, USB drive in hand. He met Alex's eyes and nodded. Alex nodded back, then turned to Ryan. "Your actions have consequences." He exhaled. "Effective immediately. You're suspended pending review." Ryan's head snapped up. "Suspended? But I can fix this. I'll return every penny." Alex shook his head. "We'll discuss restitution later. Right now, we must protect the company and the cause we support." As Alex escorted Ryan toward the back exit, the dining room fell silent. Customers watched with a mixture of shock and relief. Servers exchanged glances, some wiping their eyes. The charity jar sat behind the counter, its lid closed tight, a stark reminder of trust broken. In that charged silence, Alex felt the weight of leadership settle on him. The line between compassion and accountability had been crossed. Now, he would have to navigate the aftermath and decide how mercy and justice would coexist in the next chapter of the company's story. Alex watched Ryan's retreating back through the office window, heart heavy with the collision of justice and empathy. He closed the door behind him and took a moment to steady his breath. The evidence was undeniable, yet Ryan's tears and desperate pleas echoed in his mind. This was a man guided by love for his daughter, a love that had driven him to both noble and shameful acts. He stepped back into the dining room, where servers were exchanging hushed conversations. Alex raised a hand for attention. "Everyone, thank you for your patience," he began, voice firm but kind. "I want to know we take charity donations seriously. Integrity is our foundation." He glanced at Jamal, who stood nearby, and continued, "Today we've uncovered misuse of those funds. We'll be implementing stricter controls immediately." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the staff. As eyes followed him, Alex felt the weight of leadership settle anew. Accountability, yes, but compassion too. He thought of the single mom whose coins filled that jar, of the programs that relied on the generosity of strangers. He also thought of Ryan's quiet generosity, covering shortfalls for struggling customers, staying late to help a young server. That tension between compassion and theft defined the man standing in the office, broken yet still human. Alex excused himself and walked to the office door, opening it. Ryan looked up, confusion and shame in his eyes. "You wanted to see me?" he asked, voice trembling. Alex gestured for him to sit. "Tell me," he said, "why did you start taking the donations?" Ryan swallowed hard, then spoke of sleepless nights, mounting hospital bills, and the terror of losing his child. Each word found Alex's heart. When Ryan finished, Alex nodded. "I understand why you did it," he said softly. "But wrong choices still have consequences." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the hardship relief policy Alex had slipped him days earlier. "I've approved full coverage for your daughter's care," he said. Ryan's eyes widened. "And we'll work out restitution on the funds. You'll have time to repay without losing your job." Tears glistened on Ryan's cheeks. "Thank you," he whispered. Alex offered a reassuring nod. "Compassion isn't weakness," he replied. "It's why we're here." As Ryan exhaled with relief, Alex realized leadership meant balancing heart and principle, upholding integrity while honoring humanity's frail, beautiful striving. Alex closed the office door behind them, leaving the hum of the dining room muted in the background. He motioned for Ryan to sit across from him at the small conference table. Ryan perched on the edge of the chair, hands clasped, head lowered. "Before we finalize anything," Alex began, voice low and respectful, "I want to hear from you without interruption." He folded his hands. "I know the charity funds were meant for youth programs. I've seen the video evidence. You've seen the audit. But what I want now is your story." Ryan exhaled, shoulders sagging. I didn't plan to steal," he said, eyes glistening. "It started small. A few quarters when I was short on gas money." He paused, swallowing. "Then my daughter was diagnosed. The hospital bills came so fast, I couldn't keep up. I thought I could replace it all quietly." He smiled shakily. "I even calculated how many days it would take me to pay it back." Alex leaned forward, silently urging Ryan to continue. Ryan's voice grew steadier. "I've been saving every penny, cutting out lunches, nights at home, skipping pain pills to make rent. But it wasn't enough. I felt stuck. I've never stolen from anyone before." He looked up, tears pooling. "I try to balance the scales, help a waitress who undercharged a customer, cover a kid without enough cash, and use the jar for my own desperation. I know it was wrong, but I was drowning." Alex nodded, absorbing each word. The manager's confession laid bare the heart beneath the crime. When Ryan finished, Alex exhaled and reached out, resting a hand on Ryan's forearm. "Thank you for your honesty," he said. "I know how hard it must have been to admit this." He paused. "You saved lives with your kindness, but you compromised trust in the process." Ryan's lip trembled. "I just want to make it right," he whispered. Alex offered a small, firm smile. "We will. You'll repay every cent over time. And I've arranged full coverage for your daughter's treatment, courtesy of our hardship fund." Ryan's relief was palpable. A breath he'd been holding released. Alex stood and offered his hand. "This company stands by those who do the right thing, even when they stumble," he said. Ryan grasped his hand, eyes shining with gratitude. In that private moment, justice and compassion found their truce, setting the stage for restoration. Ryan stepped back onto the dining room floor the next morning wearing a neat dress shirt and a resolve that Ryan himself admitted felt heavier than any uniform he'd ever worn. Alex had left the team a brief note. "Ryan Nelson returns today. Join me in supporting him." Servers exchanged tentative smiles as he passed. Some offered nods of encouragement, while Lily slipped him an extra side of fries as a quiet gesture of solidarity. Throughout the morning rush, Ryan moved with purpose, no longer pocketing coins, but counting and logging every donation in a dedicated ledger Alex had provided. He greeted each coin dropped into the clear jar with a sincere "Thank you for your generosity," making sure customers heard and felt the sincerity. When a young mother fumbled at the register, Ryan led her behind the counter and offered to personally cover the shortfall with his own funds, then later logged a repayment plan in his ledger to make the transaction transparent. At midday, Alex joined him by the register. "How does it feel?" he asked softly. Ryan exhaled, wiping his forehead. Humble, he admitted, but ready to set things right. Together, they announced a new initiative, Redemption Sundays, where employees and community members could contribute time or resources to local youth programs in exchange for matching company donations. Ryan would oversee the program, ensuring every volunteer hour and dollar was recorded publicly. As Alex introduced the idea to the staff, Ryan watched their reactions, smiles, nods, and genuine excitement replacing the tension of days before. Throughout the weekend, Ryan led volunteers to a neighborhood center where they painted murals and repaired playground equipment. He worked alongside servers, busboys, and Alex himself, brush in hand and sleeves rolled up. Every time someone asked about his motivation, Ryan spoke plainly, "I broke trust. Now I'm rebuilding it." By Sunday evening, the first Redemption Sunday had raised 3 times the usual charity amount. The staff gathered in the chapel Alex had built, where Spirit's story was framed on the wall. Alex raised a glass of sparkling cider. To Ryan, he said, "For showing us that redemption is earned through action." Ryan clinked glasses with his team, eyes bright. In the glow of shared purpose, he felt his own redemption taking root. Proof that even broken trust can be mended when met with honesty, accountability, and the resolve to do better. Alex stood at the edge of the company's rooftop garden late that evening, city lights glittering beyond the rail. In his hand, he held a glass of water, an echo of the charity jar he'd monitored so closely. The day's Redemption Sunday had been a triumph, yet as he watched employees laugh and plan future events below, a new conflict gnawed at him. He thought back to his conversation with the board earlier that afternoon. Some members had praised his compassion in retaining Ryan and launching the redemption program. Others had cautioned against setting a precedent. What message did it send if a manager could steal funds yet keep his job? Brand integrity, they argued, was at risk. Alex had defended his choice, insisting that accountability without empathy would erode the company's soul. But that wasn't enough for all of them. His phone buzzed, an email from legal counsel with revised policy drafts and risk assessments. He opened it, scrolling through clauses on zero-tolerance theft, mandatory termination, and tightened internal controls. Each sentence felt punitive, a stark contrast to the human story unfolding within his restaurants. He minimized the window, rubbing his temples. Below, he spotted Ryan walking through the garden gate, alone. The manager paused, hands in pockets, and looked up, spotting Alex on the terrace. Ryan hesitated, then offered a tentative wave. Alex returned it, beckoning him up. Moments later, Ryan emerged, stepping onto the rooftop with measured steps. "Beautiful view," Ryan said quietly, glancing at the skyline. "Makes you remember there's more beyond these walls." Alex nodded. "I wanted to check in," he replied. "How are you feeling after today?" Ryan exhaled, grateful and challenged. "I know I let you down, but leading Redemption Sunday reminded me why I joined this company in the first place." Alex listened, heart stirring. "That's why I kept you on," he said. "Because leadership isn't about perfection. It's about striving to do right, even after you fail." Ryan's gaze dropped. The board, some of them aren't convinced. Alex sighed. They worry about precedent, about other managers seeking loopholes, about liability. He met Ryan's eyes. "But I believe our values aren't words on paper. They're choices we make when it's hardest." Ryan nodded, absorbing the weight of Alex's words. "Then I'll keep proving it," he said. "Every day." Alex offered a small smile. "That's all anyone can ask." As they stood together, city lights reflecting in their eyes, Alex felt the dilemma ease. Leadership balanced on the edge of integrity and mercy, held steady by the conviction that compassion, not punishment, would define their legacy. Alex entered the sleek boardroom just after sunrise, carrying a slim binder of results from Redemption Sunday, employee feedback surveys, and updated financial projections. The board members, seated around the polished mahogany table, greeted him with polite nods. At the head sat the chairwoman, Evelyn Brooks, whose steely gaze gave nothing away. Evelyn cleared her throat. Thank you for convening this special session, Mr. Whitman. We understand you've implemented an unconventional solution regarding Manager Nelson's case. Alex nodded and set the binder before her. He began by summarizing the theft audit, the charity shortfalls, and Ryan's suspension. Then he turned to the redemption program, employee morale improvements, community engagement metrics, and a 300% increase in donations on Redemption Sunday. A murmur rippled through the room. One board member, Thomas Gray, leaned forward. These are impressive numbers, but what precedent does this set? Are we signaling that misappropriation is negotiable if paired with remorse? He tapped a pen anxiously. Alex acknowledged the concern. Integrity remains non-negotiable. However, our data shows that termination would have cost us trained leadership, demoralized staff, and damaged our community reputation more severely than offering redemption. Another director, Linda Chun, chimed in. I've spoken with several employees. They describe Ryan's return as inspiring, not indulgent. It's motivated them to volunteer and engage customers in larger numbers. She pointed to a chart in the binder. Our brand perception scores have risen in local markets. Thomas frowned, then sighed. I admit, the numbers and feedback are persuasive. But what of risk controls? How do we prevent others from exploiting this compassion? Alex nodded, anticipating the question. We've updated policies. Dual oversight on all charity funds, unannounced audits, mandatory financial counseling for any hardship cases, and clear restitution plans. Any future misuse will face swift discipline. Evelyn consulted her notes thoughtfully. It appears you've balanced accountability with empathy and backed it with measurable results. She tapped the binder. The board must vote. A secretary passed around ballots. One by one, directors cast their votes. When the tally emerged, unanimous support, Evelyn smiled. The board approves Mr. Nelson's reinstatement and expansion of the Redemption Initiative as our official policy. Relief washed over Alex. He exhaled, meeting Ryan's steadfast gaze on the video feed from the store. The decision was clear, justice upheld, compassion honored, and company values reaffirmed in a new era of leadership. When the board's unanimous vote was announced, Alex felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He closed the binder and looked around the room, meeting each director's eyes with quiet gratitude. Evelyn Brooks rose and addressed the assembly. Today, we have demonstrated that leadership guided by both principle and empathy is not only possible, but powerful. We stand by our decision to reinstate Mr. Nelson and to adopt the redemption framework as company policy. Alex thanked the board, then moved to draft the official notice to Ryan. Within the hour, he sent a secure message. Your reinstatement is approved. We trust in your leadership and expect you to continue building trust through transparency. Welcome back, Ryan. He paused before hitting send, knowing the simple words carried profound meaning. That afternoon, Alex traveled back to the restaurant. He entered through the staff door, where Lily caught sight of him and hurried over. He's in the office, she whispered, eyes bright. Alex nodded and made his way past the dining room, servers offering quiet congratulations as he passed. In the office, Ryan sat at his desk, sleeves rolled up and ledger open before him. When Alex entered, Ryan stood, emotion flickering across his features. Alex extended his hand, then embraced him in a brief, firm hug. The board has spoken, he said softly. You're officially reinstated. Tears glistened in Ryan's eyes. Thank you, he murmured. I won't let you down. Alex patted his shoulder. I know you won't. Today marks a new chapter for you and for all of us. Outside the office, Alex gathered the staff for a brief meeting. He reiterated the new policies, dual oversight on charity collections, mandatory financial counseling for hardship cases, and a clear restitution process. He emphasized that the redemption program was now an official company initiative, inviting everyone to contribute ideas and participate. Cheers and applause filled the room, genuine and uplifting. That evening, as the restaurant settled into its dinner service, Alex joined Ryan on the floor. They worked side by side, greeting customers, supervising donations, and sharing quiet smiles of mutual respect. Under the warm lights, The charity jar brimmed with coins and bills, each a symbol of trust restored. In that compassionate ruling lay a powerful message that justice, when blended with mercy, can transform individuals and an entire culture, proving that a company's true strength comes not just from policies, but from a humanity that enacts them. Ryan spent the next morning reconciling the charity ledger, sitting at a small table in the back office with a stack of coins and bills before him. Each coin he counted felt like a step toward healing, an acknowledgement of his wrongs, and a promise to do better. Alex entered quietly, carrying a sealed envelope. "This came for you," he said. Ryan opened it to find a letter from the hospital. His daughter's remaining medical bills had been paid in full, courtesy of the company's hardship fund. Relief flooded Ryan's face as tears sprang to his eyes. Alex placed a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to worry about that anymore," he said softly. "Now, let's focus on making amends here." He gestured to the piles of coins. "Your repayments will go directly back into the charity fund, and we'll match your contributions for the next 3 months. Ryan nodded, determination shining anew. Together, they devised a schedule. Ryan would set aside a portion of his salary each week, while servers would volunteer to help audit donations for added transparency. Alex announced the plan at the afternoon staff huddle, praising Ryan's commitment and inviting everyone to join in rebuilding trust. Word of the company's support reached the community swiftly. Local vendors offered to host a fundraiser at the next Redemption Sunday, and a nearby school invited the staff to host a free cooking class for students. Donations poured in, not just money, but volunteer time and supplies. Ryan organized a small team to distribute funds to youth programs, ensuring every dime went to its intended purpose. Back in the restaurant, customers noticed the change. The charity jar's new label read "Fund for Tomorrow's Leaders," and a digital display tracked its balance in real time. When patrons dropped in coins, servers offered heartfelt thanks, and Ryan made a point to acknowledge regular donors by name. That evening, as Ryan closed the restaurant, he paused at the charity jar, now nearly full. He smiled and tipped a coin into the slot, watching it clink against the others. Alex appeared at the door, arms slung over his shoulder. "You've done well," he said. Ryan exhaled, pride and humility intertwined. "We did it," he replied. Together, they locked up, leaving behind a place transformed by accountability, generosity, and a shared commitment to make amends, and a world made a little kinder in the process. Alex stood before the cameras in the restaurant's vestibule, flanked by Ryan and Lily, the staff's newly appointed charity liaison. A small gathering of local reporters and community members awaited his remarks. The charity jar glinted nearby, filled to the brim. "Thank you all for coming," Alex began, voice steady.